What up, guys? It's Dom and welcome back to another movie review. Today we are continuing our way through the X-Men collection with The Wolverine. The Wolverine, released in 2013, directed by James Mangold, Wolverine comes to Japan to meet an old friend whose life he saved years ago and gets embroiled in a conspiracy involving Yakuza and mutants. Let's get right into the 10 essential aspects of a movie. The first essential aspect is plot. So the plot of this movie was okay. I liked how they dove deeper into Logan's past. You got to kind of piece together more of what happened before the previous two movies. But I think they personally made him too weak in this movie. Yes, he got dosed with something that kind of weakened his powers so he didn't heal as fast. But I feel like they just overdid it because I want to watch a Wolverine movie to see him be badass and unstoppable. And he was very stoppable in this movie, which kind of bothered me. I like when Wolverine, yes, obviously you have to make movies where he fails because that's the whole hero arc where you win some battles, you lose some, but I think he lost way more in this one than he should have. And that really did bother me. But there was a lot of good scenes. It's just all those bad scenes kind of really bogged down and really pulled the good scenes with it. But they did have excellent twists at the end of the entire story, so I mean, those were unexpected, which helped because if they were expected, it'd probably be even worse. But at least they had those. So overall, I'd say it's a very mid-plot. The second essential aspect is attraction. So this movie was entertaining. It, of course, just like I mentioned in the plot, it would be more entertaining if Wolverine was stronger and less weakened throughout most of this movie. But putting that aside, the mutants in this movie were cool to see. Especially the scene in Japan. There's ninjas, samurai, so that was all really cool. The different fight styles were definitely entertaining to watch. But again, if Wolverine was stronger throughout most of it, I probably would enjoy it more. The third essential aspect is theme. So theme in movies is very subjective. You guys could see a theme in this movie that I did not see, and vice versa. I personally did not really see a theme in this movie. If there was one, maybe it was that he trusted people that he shouldn't have and didn't trust people that he should have. So maybe just trust in general. But honestly, if that's not it, I did not see a single theme in this movie. The fourth essential aspect is dialogue. So the dialogue in this movie isn't really anything special. It was cool to see some Japanese being spoken here and there, but other than that, the conversations felt real, but really nothing special. The fifth essential aspect is acting. So obviously the main star of this movie is Hugh Jackman, who played Wolverine, and he did an awesome job, just like he did in all of his previous times playing Wolverine. He does phenomenal. He knows exactly how to play the character the way it should be. In this movie, he did kind of add a comedic part to Logan, and I thought it worked, but only in some scenes. It was really just some scenes made it a little better, some scenes really kind of made it a little cringier, but I think overall he did a fantastic job, and I'm glad that he's going to continue playing Wolverine in Deadpool 3 when it comes out. The sixth essential aspect is cinematography. This is where this movie really excels. They do a great job with the cinematography. There's so many scenes that really do convey emotion, or if they don't, they just look awesome. The very first scene, Wolverine is in a bunker covering his friend, who he saves, and the nuclear explosion that happened in Japan, you see it go off, you see all of the dust, the ashes coming their way, and then cover them. And that scene looks incredible, and you're frightened. You don't know really what's going to happen. You don't know if he's going to survive or not. Obviously, you know he survives, but in that moment, you're like, holy shit. And then, of course, the setting of Japan, it looks beautiful, and being able to see all these different locations in Japan, especially during the wintry parts when it's in the mountains with higher elevation, you get to see all the snow. So overall, it's a movie that looks fantastic. Even though the entertainment isn't as high as the other X-Men movies, the cinematography is way higher. The seventh essential aspect is editing. So The Wolverine is 2 hours and 6 minutes long. Honestly, I think that is a good length. I do wish it was slightly shorter. I wish it was more around the hour and 45-minute mark. But I think the movie was paced really well. I think they were able to move from point to point in the plot and move throughout the whole movie consistently, and you didn't really feel those dead air gaps. So I think they did a good job with that. I do wish it was shorter because there is a few dull scenes that I wish weren't in there. But they overall wrapped up the plot really well at the end, and stayed consistent. So I think it's fine where it is. The eighth essential aspect is soundtrack. So there definitely is a soundtrack, and I remember it being fitting to the movie, but I don't really remember specifics, so I'll say fair soundtrack, let's move on. The ninth essential aspect is directing. So James Mangold is the director of this movie, and it was his job to take these previous 8 essential aspects, put them together to make a good movie. And I think he did. It's definitely worth watching. It's not as entertaining as the other X-Men movies, but what it doesn't have in entertainment, it has in cinematography. The visuals of this movie are awesome. I just still wish that he didn't keep Wolverine in his weakened state for as long as he did in the movie, because it really did ruin it for me. I just think that was a poor decision. But other than that, I don't have too many other complaints. So I feel like he did do a well enough job to make me want to watch this movie again in the future. And he did previously direct 8 other movies, and they were Heavy, Copland, Girl Interrupted, Kate and Leopold, Identity, Walk the Line, 3:10 to Yuma, and Night and Day. And I haven't seen any of those movies, but what I saw from the reviews is they're kind of on par with the Wolverine, so it seems like he's not really improving, but he's also not getting worse. And there are some movies that he does in the future that are actually way better, so clearly he will improve after this point. So maybe this movie was the turning point. And the 10th essential aspect is time. So as of the recording of this video, this movie is 11 years old, and honestly, I would say it does stand the test of time for the most part. A lot of that is definitely helped by the fact that, one, it's a Marvel movie, and two, it is part of one of the bigger movie franchises, the X-Men collection. So without those, I would still say it stands the test of time for the most part, but again, it is mainly because it's part of those franchises. So I'll say yes as where it stands now. Now, on to the reviews. I think that the Wolverine was reviewed very fairly, because these are around right where I would want to put them. So Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 71%, Rotten Tomatoes audience gave it a 69%, and IMDb gave it a 67%. Now, me personally, I like that 69 to 71 range. Anywhere with a 7 out of 10 would work perfectly for this movie. I think it does have a lot of issues that it needs to work out, but for the most part, it's still an entertaining movie, and the cinematography is awesome in it. So I think that 7 out of 10 is a perfect score to give it. And finally, the rankings. Where will the Wolverine rank in its year, decade, and in all time? Let's find out. So, in 2013, it will be first, since it's the only movie I reviewed in that year. In the 2010s, it will take third. It will be above Kick-Ass and below X-Men First Class. I think the action sequences in Kick-Ass and in the Wolverine are on par with each other. I think the comedy is slightly better in Kick-Ass, but the cinematography is way better in the Wolverine than in Kick-Ass. So I just think it's a better movie in those circumstances. And X-Men First Class does honestly everything better than the Wolverine does. The comedy is better, the action sequences are better, the story is more coherent and more enjoyable, and the cinematography, I'd say, is on par with both. So that wasn't too hard of a decision to make. But now in all time, it will be 8th. It will be below 1408 and above X-Men. Now, X-Men is a very good movie, and the team works together really well. The story makes sense, it's entertaining, and overall, other than the cinematography, honestly, I feel like it's on par with the Wolverine, which is why it was hard. It was a hard decision to make, and I had to really get nitty-gritty with it. I just think that the Wolverine and X-Men are on par with each other to a T. That cinematography in the Wolverine is really what just pushed me over the edge and put it above the X-Men. So it was definitely a hard decision to make. Those could be interchangeable for me, but the cinematography is why I'm putting it in the 8th position over X-Men. And 1408, I think it did have its dull moments, but the majority of the movie being set in that room, the room changing and the little subtle details that you could very easily miss if you're not paying attention, I love that stuff. I love that the ending just wrapped up this movie perfectly to a T. There was no plot holes missing or left. There was no plot holes left. There wasn't really anything to really scratch your head about at the end of the movie. And in the Wolverine, there was. So I just think 1408 is also, they're all, honestly, all three of these movies, the Wolverine, 1408, and X-Men, are very close to each other. And honestly, they could be interchangeable in the future. Who knows? My opinion might change. But for now, 1408 is going to be in the 7th position. The Wolverine's going to be in the 8th, and X-Men's going to be in the 9th. That's all I have for the Wolverine. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, comment what movie you want me to review next. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace out.